Hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Dennis Akkerman, for being with me today. I'm Laura Aziz, the founder of Meva Solutions, a coaching and consulting firm where I focus on accelerating the success of business leaders, ambitious professionals who want to get to the next level. Today, I have with me Dennis Akkerman. Dennis is a dynamic speaker, transformational leader, and the author of a bestseller, author of The Naked Leader and Business as Unusual. Dennis lives in Kuala Lumpur, and he is the founding and managing director of Orbis Business School. Welcome, Dennis.
Welcome, and thank you, Laura, for the opportunity to have this wonderful conversation today.
Thank you. Dennis, do you want to share more about yourself? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, well, of course, this great introduction is all about me, indeed. But a few more details, perhaps that's might be interesting for the audience today. Well, first and foremost, I have to make this disclaimer because indeed the book is about the naked leader, but I got some questions sometimes that is that about removing clothes and stuff like that. I have to disappoint people that I won't undress myself here in front of the camera.
I have this question too.
Let's get that out of the way first. So we keep it decent today, Laura. Other than that, yes, I've been in Malaysia for the last 12 years. Originally, I'm from the Netherlands, as you might hear from my accents. And yeah, I came in Malaysia on an expat basis for a 3-year contract. And when I'm talking a bit more about my book later on, what is also very much part of my journey is, yes, my professional capacity in corporate leadership positions, a lot of transformational work there. I think more than 25 to 30 countries, I lost count of it, that I've done projects in. But I think what is also important is that what happened after these 3 years, my contract was over. I thought I started a business and I was really in a golden cage. You have this expat package with business class travel around the world and all the perks that come with it, good salary, nice bungalow here. Everything was perfect actually in my life. And then I started my own business. That didn't go well. What I also tell other people is that you learn actually more from this hero to zero journey. A lot of books that I read is always from how do you get from zero to hero, or how do you make your first million. But the other way around, to go from 1 million to zero is actually a more humbling experience, and you learn a lot from that. So right after I left the corporate world, I started my business. The first startup failed. My first marriage failed in the same week. I had to move to a small apartment in a construction zone. I was not homeless, but not far from that. And also my only sister passed away around the same time. That was in the period before COVID. So the first couple of years, I was really trying to survive on a totally different level than I've ever been used to in my life. And that also led me to new insights about the book. So that's a bit about what typically is not on a CV. This is the story behind the CV.
Right. No, thank you for sharing. I was actually going to ask you to tell us about your journey because there is lots of learnings. And I know many people today transitioning from corporate, whether by their own choice or because of a layoff, are going through these kind of scenarios, like how the future would look like, what can I do, and how can I start my own business. So thank you so much for sharing. And I will want to dig deeper into that journey and what kept you going. And then the bridge, to taking time to write. I know writing can be healing in itself, but also it needs focus, attention. It's a different mindset to have quiet time, quiet the noise, and share your story. So where would you like to start? Like which part of this, I would say, transformation would you like to share with us?
Yeah, Well, actually, picking up from there, picking myself up from that moment. So we are talking about the 2016 to 2018 time frame, where all these roller coaster life events happen. See, all that define you as a person, the external labels, they all fell away. And that is an humbling experience. There's the ego thing coming in, because you had these perks, you had this title, you had the respect of the team, all these great things. Of course, financially, material, everything was what society considers, I would say, successful, right?
Yes.
When you lose all of that, then you think, who am I? Who am I really? Am I still? I'm no longer the title, because it was my choice to step out of that. Some other events were not totally in my control, but the decisions that you make or the things that happen to you, that is all. That's all the consequences that you somehow need to learn to live with. And when you are on that level where you think, okay, actually, who am I? There's nothing left from the outside. Then you also look more on the inside. And that's where you find a kind of new ground. And what do I really want then? Or who do I really want to be? That is quite a journey that took some time. And that led me also to this book that I wrote first, The Naked Leader, because you are very naked at that very moment. And I think we are born naked, we're born fresh. And I would also say we also die naked, but what we do in between, are we really in touch with ourselves? And this corporate rat race, although I enjoyed a good part of it, I hired people, I developed people, the people side of things I like a lot. Politics in the corporate world is not my favorite part of it, but it is all temporary in a way. You can't take it for granted. And if we look at the current times, I think COVID was the first wake-up call for everyone that, hey, these are unusual times. Things are not the same, and they will never be the same again. Now, then we got all the challenges in the world. We got these global supply chain issues, inflation, AI, perhaps we'll talk about that later as well. All these things are now coming in. And if you are not ready to embrace that change, I think that starts with your strong foundation. That starts with the who am I question. If you have that answer, then whatever happens in the world, you are much more resilient to tackle that. And it took me that journey from hero to zero to really understand that part. And these books are completely what I wanted to write for a longest time, and what I want to do. I love what I'm doing right now. I choose really my life, and luckily also my business and everything picked up big time after that. And that is, I think, I wish that for everyone to make these kind of choices.
No, that's wonderful. I think it's motivating, inspiring. But what was one thing I think maybe will help us, help me, help the audience? What was one thing in the beginning of your journey that helped you to know who you are and connect with your true self, and then like what they call also true north, like finding your compass and knowing where you want to go? What was one practice when you were in the darkest moments? What was one practice that saved the day?
Well, actually, I removed myself from the daily worries and the daily distractions and the daily what's next kind of questions. Because once you're in that thinking mode, with thinking you won't get out of it. And people even get depressed over that, right? You overthink and you start to ruminate and things like that. So what I've done was pretty hardcore. I went for a 10-day silent retreat, 10 days. And I thought, wow, I'm never going to survive it, because you're not allowed to talk. Well, I'm an extrovert, so that I thought that's not going to, we have only 2 meals a day, and you wake up like 4:30 a.m. and all these things. I think, oh my goodness, it's like a marathon without ever run a mile, right? Things like that. But I thought, I have nothing to lose, and I really want to Yeah, actually, the intention was more of an escape and see if I could do it and just run away from it.
Yeah.
But then I found out that when you have nothing to run away from, then you really find yourself back, because whatever excuses you come, that's also the naked leader. The mirror is right in front of you, but you can't look away anymore. You're on your own. You can't talk with everyone, all of these things. So first 5-6 days, I was really like uncomfortable. And I was almost about to escape from the, I think, what am I doing here? I choose to be here, so I can also leave. But then day number 7, I clearly remember the moment. Then this new version of Dennis started to appear. There was quite a breakthrough moment, and then you think, hey, there's actually, with all that you have, that you still have, is your talent, your purpose, all these things. They're already inside of you. But what you do in the corporate world often is you do what is expected from you. How do you behave to be successful as a leader? How do you make decisions? It's all conditioned. And I'm not saying that is all wrong, but is that truly who you are? Now, in that situation, when you see your naked self, you will find that. And yeah, that's it's hard to explain that, but that is really a discovery that only when you take a longer break you find out. Yeah.
I love that. So first isolating yourself from the noise, kind of getting rid of the noise, and with the noise is some distraction, some toxicity, things like that does not have things that do not help. But then what I'm hearing, what happened at day 7 is probably more of an aha moment of accepting, the acceptance point, accepting who you are, knowing that within you lies the power, within you lies knowledge and wisdom that can be leveraged to create the future you want.
Yes, and
come close.
What was also very powerful at that moment is that you feel a sense of total freedom, and let's say all the stress and fear is gone. And too many people are almost in a continuous stress mode, but they are not even aware of it anymore. The whole body is already adjusted to a continuous level of stress, and stress is not a really good state of being if you want to make the bigger choices in life and find your purpose or a vision for your company, those things, because stress is more like a survival skill, right? So if you release yourself from that, that's very liberating.
Yeah, that's a great point. So part of transitioning and moving forward is, one, I hear this description of befriending stress. Like sometimes you cannot, with your willpower, eliminate stress, but accepting that it's a reaction and that you can reduce it or minimize it by doing things that nurture your soul and help you move forward. Like in coaching, also in my coaching practice, one of the techniques we use is to know where we are now and accept the past. We cannot change the past. And think of what we can do for the future. So it's more future oriented. And where coaching comes, or mentoring, is helping the person move to the next level, take the first step that get them going on that pathway to the future that they want, like a bridge. So I think
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
what happened in that silent retreat after day 7, when you started thinking, okay, like what happened has happened. I have my skills, my knowledge, my ambition, and then there is the way forward to take it one step at a time, but moving forward. I love that. That's great. So tell
Yeah,
us more about the Naked Leader. Like where, how did you come up with the name, and if someone would buy that book, what would they learn from it?
yeah. So the naked leader, the idea I already mentioned, is more on the naked soul than the naked body.
Right.
But in a way, you can use the same analogy, because if you wake up in the morning and you go to the bathroom, and who do you see in the mirror? How do you see yourself? That is already a starting point, but it's still the physical appearance. So what I want to do is really look inside your naked self. And this book had a lot of questions rather than answers. And I think you are also a coach. It is about asking the right questions that make people think. It's not a very thick book, as you can see, but if you take this book seriously, it takes some time to digest. If you're really looking for the answers for every question, that can be quite revealing. So people who just quickly browse through it, they might not fully utilize the power of the book in that sense. So, and I guide the people, the readers, journey of this self-discovery first and foremost, because transformation starts with awareness. If you're not aware, and I know people in the late 80s who are still in a certain behavior trap because they are not self-aware. And I think you're never too old to learn, but you need to first have an honest look at yourself, and then only you can make a change. And I also use these 3 stages that you also just mentioned is past. How can we deal with the past? Now, indeed, it's over. So regret and all those energies are not very productive or conducive. But for me, dealing with the past is mostly about emotional intelligence. And why I'm saying that? Because emotions are scripts from the past that you still apply to till today. So this is how you bring the past into the present. And the events in your life that trigger you the most emotionally, make you angry or whatnot, they are the most interesting ones to. So if you want to become emotionally intelligent, you need to recognize those triggers and transform that into the future. Like, okay, now I'm going to act differently next time. And that is already the awareness of what is going on a daily basis, what kind of events trigger you. That is the reflection that you can make for yourself. So that is the past. Then present. Being in the present moment, easier said than done for a lot of people because we're always busy, busy, busy. I don't believe in multitasking personally. I believe in focus, and Pomodoro and those techniques are all related to that. And people who think they are more efficient with multitasking, that's a lie, because your brain needs, I think, how many seconds to go back to the original task that you started. So being present for yourself, being mindful, but also for other people, especially in a leadership capacity. You can't be on the phone and having a one-to-one with your employee at the same time. That doesn't work. So you give your full attention to the person in front of you. That's also presence. Are you there for the person? And that how can I help you today? Now, the third one is indeed about the future. And I always say, start with the end in mind. And what I mean with that is I wrote my own obituary, which is quite confronting. But if you start with the end in mind, you make totally different decisions, and the priorities are very clear. And I also spoke with some people who were at the end of their or near the end of their life, and they look back and they had quite a number of regrets. And I thought, wow, I don't want to live a life with regrets. There are things that I could have done better, but I don't want to have that kind of regrets because it's too late. You can't make the change then anymore. So if you start with that thought in mind, some people say, yeah, that's quite negative to think about it, or people are very afraid of that moment to come. But that's the only certainty we have in life anyway. So we better be prepared for that. And what I also tell all the people is, at the end of your life, do you wish you spend more time on social media, for instance? Is that a productive use of your time here, the limited number of years that you have? So that kind of question. So that's for yourself. Then you can also translate that for what you do professionally, whether you run a business or your career. So what is your aspiration, your goals and all that? So I ask a lot of questions to get to the right answers for yourself. And then lastly, the last chapter, I would say, is about what is preventing you, all the obstacles you will find on your journey. I use the word module because it's also a coaching workshop along with the book, but the chapter. And a lot of obstacles, you can also say excuses. Not nice to hear for some people, but procrastination is usually an excuse, right, for something. It's what should be happen is not happening. So I have a list of I don't have to count them, but like say 15 obstacles that you might encounter while you are not changing. And to give some practical tools why we are almost in the new year, why New Year's resolutions fail, why people can't continue the gym subscription after the second month. There are some very clear reasons why people fail in making a change. So that's a bit of a summary of the book. I can talk about it for hours, but
beautiful. That's beautiful. So there are really if someone would buy the book to kind of help them move forward, get over, if they are feeling stuck or worried, there are reflection questions in each chapter, and you would recommend they get a notebook and a pen and answer some of the questions, at least, if not all, so they gain the clarity of who they really are, some of the learnings from the past, taking full responsibility for the present, and then working on a plan for the future. The first steps. I like to work in 90 days. We call it the 90 days action plan. I'm sure you have something similar to that, right? Do you like 90 days, or you work with longer time frames? What's the time frame you recommend?
Yeah, that is a good one, actually. Whether that is a 90 days, I think a lot of changes don't need to wait, and indeed in 90 days you can see tremendous progress with people. And 90 days is a strategic one in terms of changing habits. So rewire the brain patterns. 90 days is good to sustain. On the other hand, I think this one also has a lifelong learning part to it, where I think you're never really done with things, and people at 80 can still make quite big changes in their life. Because some people say, I'm too old to change, but I think that's not true. You just have applied the same habit for too long, and it takes a bit more effort to get over change to a new habit. That's the only thing. But you can still change.
That's beautiful.
And I think it's a lifelong journey. So I also wrote a quote here: being is always equals becoming. So in that sense, the job is never done.
I love it. No, that's wonderful. So I think in that there is a lot of learning. Like, if anyone listening to this interview, where can they find the book? Is it available on Amazon, or you have it on your website? How can people get the book if they feel like they really need that transformation in their lives?
The book can be found on Amazon, and so look for The Next Leader. And also my second book, Business as Usual, is also on Amazon. And I have a publisher here in Southeast Asia. So if you're in Southeast Asia, you can also check my LinkedIn profile. So you have two ways to order it. If you're in Southeast Asia, then I can refer you to my publisher. If you're not in Southeast Asia, then you can get it worldwide through Amazon. Yeah,
that's wonderful. So they can either order from Amazon or can find the links on your LinkedIn profile to get
absolutely,
it in other parts of the world if they don't have access to Amazon. That's beautiful.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I want to really thank you for giving us this model here. And I don't know if it's going to be too much overwhelming to talk about business as unusual, maybe at a high level. I don't want to introduce too many ideas that maybe, but I think people will want to hear, because like, what is Dennis thinking about when he talks about the unusual, like, so if you can give us, like, again, the Southern foot, maybe perspective, and then people can choose if they want to get the two books, they want one over the other, it will be a personal choice.
Yeah, well, I try to keep that one short indeed, because exactly that you mentioned is that it can be overwhelming for people. Originally, I planned to make one book about transformational leadership, and this is a trilogy, so number 1 and 2. Number 3 is planned for 2026. But originally, I thought I make one ultimate transformational leadership book. But exactly the reason that you just mentioned, if you work on this one, that's already quite a journey. So it will be too much for people to put that all in one book. That was my idea behind it. So part one is starting with yourself, of course, leading yourself first, even if you're not a leader in title, but we need to lead our own lives. Part two is about business transformation. And that is the next step in the trilogy. So how do you manage change and transformation? They are not exactly the same within a business context. And with all the changes that are happening outside, how do you make sure that your company is adapting to the new realities? That is one. But also, how do you inspire people when you don't have all the answers? Because you can't really predict what's coming up next year or the year after. During COVID, we didn't know how long that would last. All these things. What is the impact on AI? You do not have all the answers as a leader. So I try to answer that question in this book, Business as Unusual, how we can thrive in uncertainty and see it as an opportunity.
Yeah, love that. It's definitely the big thing on everyone's mind today because there is high level of uncertainty. We call it, I'm sure you use that term also, VUCA, the volatility, uncertainty, ambiguity, complexity that we are facing today, partially, and that we can that would be the last point we will talk about today, partially because of AI and the exponential growth in generative AI. And obviously then the other economic conditions and the changes. But for us, at least, and how we can help our audience would be, how did you personally embrace AI and how do you see it as a force for good, or if you believe it's something else? And then we can share a couple of apps, maybe applications that people can use, and we'll wrap up with that. Thank you, Dennis.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing about AI is that almost everyone has an opinion about it. And that is, I also see a lot of AI gurus popping up, specialists popping up, and all that. And it's good that everybody has an opinion about it. And it's almost like you either hate it or love it, or perhaps a little bit in between. But for me, it's not so much about the opinion itself, but it reveals where they are on the change curve for the adoption of AI. So you see the early adopters, they are very enthusiastic and they embrace every tool out there immediately. Then you have the people who are more resistant and they have some reservations about certain aspects of AI, which we also still have to figure out. I mean, the world is it's not a major platform at the moment, but should we wait for that? And a lot of inventions that we see in mankind, we release it first and then we will figure out some of the disadvantages later. Automobiles with the pollution, nuclear, we have a waste problem. So hopefully we will find some responsible ways for AI, but that should not stop us from using it. So in that sense, I'm not a strong promoter, but I'm also definitely not against it. And I think for everyone, see, the world will move on this, whether you embrace it or not, the world will move on this path anyway. Yeah. Now, then from my business, if you look at, hey, what's in it for coaching and leaders and trainers? And I would say, yeah, actually, Marcel Goldsmith was one of the first ones, the famous leadership coach. He created his own avatar, and you can ask anything to the avatar. And I think, hey, actually, it's a very scalable business model because you can only be at one place at one time. You only have an X number of hours in the day. So for coaches, all your thoughts, your ideas, your approaches can be in this avatar, is available 24/7, speaks the languages and whatnot. So it's a great opportunity. Having said that, I think the human connection will always remain. And that is, see, on the sales side, you can automate everything with AI and making all the quotations and do all the marketing. On the purchasing side, you can also do all the contract negotiation. But at the end of the day, I don't think that AI from the supplier and AI from the buyer will automatically sign all the contracts. There's still some human interaction and human element needed there. So I'm not afraid that AI will totally make us obsolete as human beings. Far from it. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. You summarized it really nicely in terms of you can use it, but it's not gonna like it's an amplifier or can help in optimizing some workflows. It can help in reducing the demand on your time, but it's not gonna replace you and it's not gonna take over all the work that you have in your business. So it could be like in our recommendation to anybody listening is that explore it, experiment with it, don't shun it out of your life because it's here to stay. Like there are big companies especially are embracing it at a very high speed, and when this happens you know that it's going to grow exponentially, and it's that if you use it wisely it can help, especially in
Absolutely.
like reducing the time demands. Like if you're doing a research for a book, for example, you wrote two books and you're writing another one in 2026. So are you thinking of leveraging some of the AI tools in doing research and collecting data?
Yes, although I found out that some of the you need to be super careful if you're an author. First of all, Amazon says, "Have you used AI? Yes or no?" And they do checks. If it is written with ChatGPT, forget about it. You won't be able to publish it anymore. So I think that's a good thing. But on the other hand, see, it's very important for your own credibility and of course for the legality around it that sources can be verified and whatever you claim in a book. And I've seen a couple of times with AI that certain hallucinations happen, then certain things are being presented and also ask where's the source, then there's no source to it. So you need to be super careful. So spell check is fine. Some ID generation is also fine, or references to some websites where you can manually verify on the website what is claimed. Otherwise, it's a very slippery slope for authors. If there's anything, let's say, stolen or incorrect from other people, you will ruin your personal brand immediately by that. So
Absolutely.
I would say use it with care. Yeah.
Right, absolutely. Like use it for research, but validate everything. Like I like to take
Absolutely.
output,
Yeah.
yeah. You take an output from
Yeah.
one tool and put it in another tool and say, double check. But not to get an AI tool to write the book for you. That is not gonna take you far.
No, absolutely. And they do checks on it
Yeah,
in Amazon, so
you'll be
you won't
flagged.
get
Yeah,
published in the first place. Yeah.
that's cool. Um, Dennis, I think the content that you shared with us is so amazing and so fabulous in terms of helping people who want to become speakers, authors, or start their own consulting business. I think you gave us some really good nuggets. But in wrapping up, what are the top advice that you would share with someone deciding to, okay, enough the 9 to 5 grind, I'm going to have my own consulting business? What would you tell them?
Well, first and foremost, and that is the same for coaching, training, or speaking, or being an author, is you you are always unique, and that is your brand.
Mm,
And I speak with people who already, let's say, disqualify themselves before they even start out. And yeah, what if I don't have money? What if I'm not good enough? Or why should they hire me in the first place? That kind of self-limiting beliefs is not very helpful. And see, at the start, you don't have anything to show for. You need to get your first client, which is always the hardest. So I would say try to get your first client before you quit your job. I also tried to get a startup off the ground already in the evening hours when I was still in the corporate job. Yet it still failed, but okay, there was a huge learning. But yeah, don't burn your bridges too fast. Have some financial buffers. Sleep at night. The way I handled that was after I was broke. I now calculate my financial based on time rather than money. So I know how much I spent every month, and airplane, they also don't calculate the fuel in gallons. They calculate based on remaining flight time. So you're not continue until you crash, right? They will go to an emergency landing before they run out of fuel. Now it's the same thing with you need to be very disciplined in your financial management and make sure that you have that buffer and don't run out of the fuel so that you can always find a job. There's always a point of return. You can always apply for jobs again if it doesn't work out. So the risk for a solopreneur is actually very low. You don't need to invest in assets anymore these days. It's all operational expenditure. You can start literally with almost no capital. Yeah.
I like that. That's a very good advice, smart advice. Like I hear it today in the industry, they call it fractional. Like you can get a fractional job where you do like part-time until your business is established. Like if you feel like you want some buffer, some security, find something not too demanding or part-time until you get your first clients, get the first clients rolling in and get some cash in the bank and then go. Ideally, when I started my coaching practice, ideally the recommendation was, it didn't work for me. I had a different situation, but that to start a side hustle when you're still employed. And when the side hustle stand on its own feet and is bringing income enough or similar to a salary, then you can leave and focus on your business. So there could be some tactical strategies in how you spend your time, as you said, like use the time, budget the time to your benefit, to your success, right?
Yeah, and then you sleep a lot better at night, and especially if you have a family to support or a mortgage to be paid. Financial stress is really a tough game to be in, and that's also the downside of the entrepreneur is you don't have the fixed paycheck at the end of the month. So that is something you need to get used to, and that takes some time. Yeah, so discipline is very important indeed. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. There are lots of wisdom here. Thank you for staying late. I know Kuala Lumpur, I'm in Chicago. We have like 14 hours difference. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Laura. My
Yeah.
pleasure.